So Hannah, you can just look at the video instead of us.
Okay.
We're going to ask you questions.
What's the most memorable paper you've written?
I have a couple papers that I've written while here at ACC that really stand out to me. One of my favorites was actually in the Writing in the Disciplines course. I did a review of the Farm Worker Guest Program.
The paper that I've written that I remember the best is in English 111. We had to write a personal essay, and I chose to go the humor route, and I wrote about my first kiss.
And it was a personal subject to me. I was able to find a lot of good information and present it in a way that wasn't necessarily as conventional. So it wasn't just someone boring telling you about these poor people, but actually telling you the real life impact of what was going on.
Which was really fun. It was really fun to write a personal experience, and that experience was definitely funny. So,
in my English 112 class, I wrote a paper about the religious undertones of Dora the Explorer. I think I titled it like the demonology of Dora the Explorer, how the child's cartoon is poisoning the minds of our youth.
What advice do you have for students?
you just need to make it interesting and make it so that people want to read it. In your introduction, you should always have an attention grabber so that people want to read your paper and hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so when it comes to titles, I think it's good to have a title that encompasses the entire point of your paper. Don't have the title, like if you're writing about an author, maybe like John Keats or something like that, don't have the title of your paper be John Keats. Have it be something that relates to his life or what the point of your paper is.
So if I were writing a thesis statement, I would definitely, and I have done this, is write out a bunch of different thesis statements that all sort of state the same thing without sounding alike. And then, you know, as you're writing your essay, experiment with the different thesis statements to see which one sort of fits the best in your essay and makes the most sense.
Write about things that interest you. And if you're assigned a topic that doesn't interest you, do research and find stuff about it that makes it interesting.
I avoid being boring in my writing by writing the way that I talk. I'm not saying that like I'm not boring, but I feel like the papers that I write are not boring because they are real and they sound the way that I would say it if I were going to talk about the topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to have your reader be entertained. If you have a boring paper, nobody wants to read it, and most of the time you won't get your point across as well either if your paper is boring.
If you hate writing, just think about what you're trying to say and maybe record yourself talking through it. And then all you have to do is go back and listen and write down what parts that you like talking about.
Outlines are definitely the most important thing for me. Introduction, middle paragraphs, conclusion. Like I said, full sentence outlines are the best for me because maybe I have like 5 or 6 sentences. And then once you have your sentences that are like your main points, you can just build off of those and then your paper just gets that much better.
So I will always handwrite the entire paper out and then I'll type it. So I'll be revising as I go. And then once I type it out, I print it and I take a red pen or a pink pen or a purple pen and I just go to town on my paper and tear it apart.
How do you write good conclusions?
I write good conclusions by looking at what my entire paper is about, and then like a helpful tip that you've told me is just like taking my thesis, copying and pasting it, and then just rewriting it. So not saying the exact same thing, but rewording it and then looking at all of my points and making sure that they're all included in the conclusion, and making sure that like the last sentence just kind of encompasses the paper and wraps it all up.
What's your writing environment like?
I need like complete silence when I write, and I go in my room because that's where my computer is, and I usually do it at night because the rest of my family is asleep and nobody can bother me and everyone else is quiet. And I just sit there and I lock myself in my room until the paper's done.
I can't deal with silence, so music is a really good thing for me, honestly. I'd say classical music, I don't know, kind of gets my mind rolling there. Pachelbel's Canon in D is my personal favorite there.
I don't come out until I'm finished. And that's the motivation. I'm like, I'm like, you know, like I really want to go get something to eat, but I can't do it until this paragraph's done.
When I sit down to write, I get distracted very easily. So before I start, I make sure I have something to drink, I have a snack, I have all my materials at hand so that I don't have to get up and try to hunt something down. I don't give myself a reason, or an excuse, I should say, to get distracted. Sometimes it doesn't always work that way, but I try to make sure that I'm as prepared as possible to make sure I have the best outcome.
I don't know, I kind of feed off the energy of people, but that's a good writing environment for me. I know it's different for everybody.
What about procrastination?
Definitely do not procrastinate. That is bad. It is very bad.
Procrastinate once and you realize that you should never do it again. I have plenty of experience doing that. It leads to late nights and early mornings. It's not a good combination.
What I would tell a student that tends to procrastinate a lot is just try to make, like, even if it's just 30 minutes in your day, just start writing 30 minutes of your paper each day, like a week before the paper is due or something, and you'll have a lot less to actually write like the night before if that's what you usually do.
Any final thoughts?
And eventually, you know, through lots of rewriting and rewriting, you will have a pretty solid essay. And then that should get you a good grade.